All right.
Yeah, we straight chillin', serial killing, pre-cool villains on the mic, got you reeling. 5-star rated from the floor to the ceiling. If you catch a 1-star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ on the ones and twos, by the name Beelzebub, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all over two, and prepare to hear the legend of the straight chillin' crew.
What up, nerds, and welcome to another radio silent episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob, and I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode 474, recorded Sunday, April 28th, 2024. Tonight we're talking about the latest from the creative team known as Radio Silence. The movie is Abigail. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got your boy Randeezy. What's up, man?
What's going on, children?
How we doing? I know you just tried out a prosthetic tooth that we got at the Abigail screening at Overlook, and so did I. And man, these things taste like doo-doo holes. This is still tasting. This is like Malort stuck in my mouth. It's fucked
It
up.
lingers almost as long as Malort does on the tongue. They look really great. I think they did a really good job, actually, but they taste
They're
like
incredible.
ass.
I just have that much more
like
respect
ass.
for the fine art of acting with giant prosthetic teeth in your mouth.
Yeah,
Does
I'll
it
be
taste
selling
like
these
a
on
dog?
eBay. They have been in my mouth, so that'll be $1,000. Okay, check
Right,
that
yeah,
out.
that's the going rate on OnlyFans. It should transfer.
Last but not least, calling in from Seoul, South Korea, we got your boy Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, what up? It's your boy Pinky Promise Stains. And speaking of Pinky Promises, boys, I got a chance to meet the crew from Radio Silence last summer at BFun, if you were following our coverage. And they pinky promised me that they would put an Easter egg in their next film for me. So did you guys notice my Easter egg where I was in this film?
No.
Why don't you finish the bit and then we'll know?
I was Joey's son, Justin.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah,
thanks to Radio Silence over there for putting me in their film. I really appreciate that. Straight chilling.
Good for
straight
them
to
for
the top,
age appropriate casting too, right?
Right? Yeah, exactly. I know. Fits the age perfectly.
His name is Stains.
Who honors the pinky swear of a degenerate?
I mean, we gotta keep it reasonable, Bob. There's only so much we can do here.
So reasonable.
Yeah.
Well, Randy and I got to meet them at the Overlook Film Festival for the world premiere of Abigail, and
you did, yeah.
They told us that we get to party with them.
Well, all
Yeah.
right. Well, I hope they keep
That's
that
what they
promise.
said.
Like
They
kept
told us they
mine.
do it all for us, and they were very upset with our Scream 6 review.
We apologize. No, we didn't. No. No, I didn't. But yeah, we're talking about Abigail. This is a new flick. Before we get into the review, let's tackle a little bit of housekeeping real quick here. Here is your final reminder. Actually, I think this drops on the 1st of May, so it doesn't matter. The May poll is probably closed at the time of you listening to this, and we'll have a June poll. Which is going to be Randy's takeover month. Randy, I'm not sure if you've actually landed on what it's going to be yet, have you?
I'm like right on the edge of figuring out what the movies are going to be, but yeah, I think I don't want to announce it just yet in case I come up short on my last option.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, so this at the time of you listening to this, there will be a brand new poll over on Patreon. Check it out. It's Randy's Takeover Month. Cast your vote. At the time of us recording this, it still looks like Memories of Murder is going to take it for Justin's Takeover Month here. The Korean creature Comforts. So we'll probably be talking about Memories of Murder pretty soon here.
Whoa.
Get your votes in. Vote now. In other Patreon news, we're dropping mini casts every other Friday. We just dropped one this past Friday, the 26th. Randeezy's talking about Immaculate, that new Sydney Sweeney nun movie, which surprisingly did not suck.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
excited to
yeah.
get it out there. I'm excited that I don't know. It feels like forever after you record these that they end up in the rotation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
It's not
every
like our
other
instant
week.
gratification regular episodes where we just record and it's just out there.
And then
the
you
same week.
immediately get to listen to it right afterwards, right, Randy?
Yeah,
Like,
that's the real
you're just
treat that
waiting.
I always indulge in.
Randy loves hearing his own voice. We all know that.
Love it. It's my favorite. It's totally my favorite.
We know Randy. Okay.
Yes, that's what a boy likes.
So Immaculate's out now. Next up on the 10th of May, we'll be dropping a Q&A that we recorded at the Overlook Film Festival that took place after the 10th anniversary screening of Oculus.
Whoa.
And your boy Mike Flanagan was on stage, answered a bunch of questions that were mostly fielded to him by Phil Noble Jr. From Fangoria. It's a really solid Q&A. And then he took some questions from the audience as well. His lovely wife was also with him, and she asked some questions too. You get to hear that in the Q&A as well. So check that out. Drop it
Why
over
don't
on
you ever
Patreon.
do the dishes?
Almost, kind of close.
She definitely
It was a
throws-
domestic squabble.
Yes, there was. We'll leave it at that. And
Yeah.
check it out over on Patreon. It's pretty fun. It was a really solid Q&A actually.
Why
Yeah,
did you
very
fuck my sister?
What the fuck?
Damn.
Man. And now for
Wait a-
Jerry's thoughts.
Waiting to drop that bomb on stage. Just
Jesus Christ.
Keeping it in the
Oh.
family, Flanagan style. That's pretty much all we got for Patreon, though. Do you guys have anything that you would like to plug?
Nothing to speak of. No.
This week.
Yeah.
Okay. Do I have anything else? I guess the only other thing I'd like to mention is like we did throw out a bonus episode last Friday on the main feed. We wanted to kind of celebrate halfway to Halloween / Walpurgisnacht, and we wanted to find a movie that we thought would be well suited for that. We landed on The Autopsy of Jane Doe, so you can check that out in our main feed if you haven't already. And also the back half of that episode, we talk about just the history of Walpurgisnacht and Beltane. So check that out. And also, we did a Joe Bob live watch party Friday the 26th as well. And he also thought The Autopsy of Jane Doe would make a perfect Walpurgisnacht movie. So he showed that. That worked out well, I guess.
Bob, you're just morphing into that man, maybe. You were
Yeah,
the one who suggested it.
Your facial hair is slowly eking away, as we know, and eventually you're going to end up in those bolo ties.
Everyone check out the behind the scenes to get a look at Bob's new beard.
Bob looks like a jobber at a low-rate wrestling match. That's what I'm going to say.
I feel like I just drive semis now. That's just what I do.
Yeah, you become certified the minute you shave your beard in that formation.
Yeah. I was already got a CDL. Now I just got the facial hair to match it.
Whoa, there you go.
Hey,
it's all coming together.
Everyone write in if you want to see Bob go full clean, you know. If we get enough votes, we'll pressure Bob to shave his entire
This is it'll be like Locks of Love or St. Baldrick's, except all the money goes to Justin and I specifically.
Donate now to have Bob shave his beard.
Not gonna happen. I'm rocking the Lemmy Kilmister. If you're not watching us on YouTube, the behind the scenes stuff, that's what I got going on facially. So, but yeah, big thanks to everybody.
You got going on facially.
God,
man.
Well, god damn.
Not a lot of action there usually. It's good to see some movement.
Facial movement. Thanks to everybody that hung out with us on Friday for the Joe Bob Watch Party, and check out our bonus episode if you haven't already. And yeah, that's it. I think our house is clean.
I think so.
This house is clean.
Let's get into the main event. We're talking Abigail, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Bob, have you pre-ordered this box?
No, I have not yet. I'm pretty sure you can though.
Okay.
So do that if you want.
Damn, already? Really?
Yeah, they roll it out pretty fast. Yeah.
I know. It's just like I know I don't keep the close tabs you do on the physical media. It just seems like it used to be like 3 or 4 months before a DVD would drop. I guess this is I
Yeah,
guess it's not as big of a money draw anymore, so they
what's
don't
the average
space it.
time from a movie coming out in the theaters, Bob, to you being able to get your hands on a Blue? What's that time frame looking like these days?
How
Month
long
and a
you
half?
jonesing for?
2 months?
It varies. Yeah, I would say probably the quickest would be maybe like 2 months, maybe 2 to 6 months.
Okay.
Sometimes
Okay.
they just don't ever put one out. It kind of depends, which is
Monsters.
criminal.
Fucking bullshit.
I still want Fresh on Blu-ray. Like that has no physical release.
Are
That's
they
a
not?
really solid
Really?
one.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
That's a real shame.
Because it's owned by Hulu, so I guess they have less incentive. But I mean, they would still make money on it. Like people would buy it. I don't know. Maybe it's just not enough. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, you can pre-order Abigail if you want it on Blu-ray. This is a brand new movie. Just came out a couple weeks ago. Rated R with a runtime of 1 hour and 49 minutes. Written and directed by Matt Bettinelli, Tyler Gillette, Stephen Shields, Guy Busick. And it stars Melissa Barrera, Dan Stevens, Alicia Weir, William Catlett, Catherine Newton, Angus Cloud, Kevin Durant, Giancarlo Esposito, Matthew Good. Good? Maybe good. Probably good. Hell of a cast here. Gentlemen, we've seen it, obviously. First time watch because it's a new movie. Would you recommend folks check out Abigail? Randy, kick us off.
Yeah, I would. I think that Radio Silence, for my money, is always doing their best work when they're churning out new properties and making cool new shit. This, if you're a Ready or Not fan, this is right down that same alleyway, I would say, but obviously a little bit of a different premise. But like the setting of an opulent mansion, the murder, the chaos, the quick dialogue, all that shit, it's all there. I do recommend it, especially if you like that sort of thing. So it's fairly light for a horror flick, but very enjoyable. Recommend.
Right on. Juice, what about you?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think this is a pretty fun, a little bit action kind of oriented horror film, but yeah, it's a light watch. It's pretty easy to get through. It's got some fun aspects to it, cool settings, and some twists and turns. And yeah, it's generally just kind of like a fun, light horror watch. So yeah, I would recommend people check it out. Bob, how about you?
Yeah, I feel the same way. This is first and foremost just a really fun popcorn flick. It's not really scary. It's not, for the most part, not really doing anything too new. But if you just want to have like a good time at the theater, I would definitely recommend checking this one out. I think it delivers on what it promises. So pretty well a recommendation across the board, I think, from the Straight Chilling crew, sounds like.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool.
I agree with your assessment.
I agree with myself, yes.
Thank you. Agree to agree, gentlemen. We are going to spoil the shit out of Abigail, and here comes your warning.
Spoiler warning.
Bob, I know you were writing this plot synopsis in the theater with your little pad and pen and little flashlight. So why don't you go ahead and share that
headlight
with us?
I bring in with me. It doesn't bother anybody, you know.
Yeah,
I got
Bob.
the
He's
plot
from Straight Chilling. I think he's just writing his plot.
He's got important work to do.
He looks insane with his beard. Just don't bother him. He might freak out.
I didn't recognize him. Oh, you're right. It is Bob.
That's yeah. I got the plot synopsis for you right here. Let's blast through it real quick. So we got 6 criminals kidnap a 12-year-old ballerina dancer named Abigail. They take her to a remote mansion in upstate New York. The group, led by informant Lambert, has instructed them to use aliases based on the Rat Pack. There's a former drug addict, Joey, former NYPD detective Frank, wealthy hacker Sammy, the wheelman, Dean, Marine sniper Rickles, and Canadian mob enforcer Peter. They're told to hold Abigail for 24 hours and will each receive $7 million. Joey's the only person to talk with Abigail, so she only hears one voice. Joey promises to keep her safe. As they bond, Abigail finds out Joey has a son herself. Abigail ominously apologizes for what's about to happen. Dean wanders into the basement and is attacked by an unseen assailant. Sammy hears his screams and finds his headless corpse in a chair. Frank confronts Abigail and demands to know who her father is. She says he's a feared crime lord named Christophe Lazar. Rickles then tries to leave the house, but the security system is tripped and all exits are blocked off. Joey and Rickles form a pact as they're both retired military and begin to clear the house. Rickles is immediately killed by the assailants. Frank tells Peter to kill the girl before he can. She turns into a vampire, and everybody else flees. The group hatch a plan to kill Abigail. They find her dancing with Dean's corpse and use garlic, wooden stakes, and crucifixes against her, but they do nothing. Joey suggests they use the tranquilizer Lambert gave them for the kidnapping earlier. It worked then, and it worked again. So they lock her up in an elevator shaft, but not before she bites Sammy. When Abigail wakes up, she reveals she knows all their identities. Lambert set them up to be slaughtered by her because they've all wronged Christophe Lazar in some way. Joey concludes she's been killing her father's enemies for decades to try and win his love. Frank watches over Abigail as the rest explore the house. She very easily breaks out of the cage, and before she can kill Frank, Joey busts a hole in the wall, letting sunlight in, causing her arm to explode. The group splits up to find some sort of power source to reset the security system of the house. Sammy turns into a vampire under Abigail's control and kills Peter. Sammy then attacks Frank and Joey, but Joey uses a silver serving tray to reflect sunlight on Sammy, causing her to explode. Joey and Frank find the mansion control room, and Lambert is operating it. He's a vampire and offers to turn Frank into one as well, so they can kill Abigail and her father and take over the whole goddamn thing. Frank allows Lambert to turn him, and then immediately stakes him through the heart, causing him to explode. Frank then drinks Abigail's blood. He gets a little bit stronger. Frank whoops Joey's ass and tells her she will be his puppet. A weakened Abigail asks Joey to help her defeat Frank in exchange for her life. Frank tries to mind control Joey, but it doesn't work, and she stakes him, and he explodes. Abigail's father, Lazar, shows up, and Abigail saves Joey from him. He allows her to leave for saving Abigail. Upon driving off the property, Joey finds a sucker in the van and eats it on the way to be with her kid. Roll them credits.
Tell him it's open season on all suckheads.
Classic line.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So I think the first thing I want to say about this movie is we've all seen the trailer a million times before we saw the movie. I'm sure they advertised so well.
I didn't see it at all.
I don't watch trailers typically.
I don't. Yeah,
unless
I
I'm
tried
really interested.
Well, fuck me. I did. I saw the trailer a lot.
Whoa.
And okay, question: Did you know?
About it, Bob.
Did you know there were vampires in this movie before you watched the movie?
I honestly didn't really know anything about it.
I definitely did, and I did see the trailer, but it was like in a movie theater, and I saw it the once, so I didn't watch it repeatedly. To your point,
Gotcha.
Yes, I did see it.
Well, that's my big beef. Because watching this movie, it feels like the movie wants you to be surprised when vampires start happening. Things start happening. Because it's like, I don't know, 40 minutes in or something, and then finally she turns and starts going ape shit.
And it's a whole thing. I mean, even the ominous, I'm sorry, what's going to happen to you, and the discussion about the father's killer who snuck into a room and I killed all these guys. And
but the whole time you know that she's just a vampire.
Yeah. That's why you go in blind, boys.
Yeah. I did rewatch the trailer before this episode, just scrounging for bumps and stuff. And like the thing that surprised me is that the pit of bodies is in that, and it's just that's such a cool reveal. Like I didn't remember that, and thank God I didn't, because I was like, when that hit, it hit hard and like nice. I was like, oh fuck, this is nuts.
That's hard and nice. That way.
That's hard and nice, and I like it. It's good. No, I don't know. Like it just. This is just another trailer in a long lineage of movie trailers that just give away the whole farm. And I understand that they can't do anything as teasery as like established properties can do. They can't just show a fucking Captain Marvel symbol and then call it a day. Like they have to like give you an idea of what the movie is. But there's a line, man. There really is.
Yeah.
And
I think
too
it's
much crossing
possible.
of that line.
I think it's very possible to cut a trailer with no vampire stuff in it. And I think it maybe could have served the movie because it did pretty well at the box office opening weekend. I think it did like 10 million, and right now it's at like almost 29 million. And I think it was like a 30 or 40 million dollar budget. And it seems like folks just aren't super drawn to vampire stuff recently, because we had the Last Voyage of the Demeter, which is about the same budget, and it didn't do super well. And then like last year also. the Nick Cage joint that came out also didn't do super
Renfield.
Oh,
Renfield.
Renfield. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then this
That's
one is
true.
kind of in the same vein, and they're all very different, but they're all like vampire based. And I don't know, maybe it would have
Well,
served the movie,
Well,
maybe not.
here's the thing about trying to cut the trailer though. Okay, if you did it, if you cut it as there's these people and I mean, really, you'd have to sell it on these people took this girl and now the whole discussion about the killer and who the father is. So you kind of have to give that away a little bit and the anticipation that they're
Yeah,
being hunted within a house. Like, okay, but that gives a very different like that attracts a very different audience that isn't necessarily interested in seeing a horror film. That's not that's more thrillery, I don't know,
fair.
maybe even actiony based. And even if you show any of the kills, one that would spoil some of the kills, like you could show the guy's head falling off without
yeah,
showing any vampire aspects. But other than
Hmm.
that, it's hard to really sell this movie as a horror film to attract
I
horror
don't.
fans without giving that aspect away, I think. Like
I think that you
what would you
can because there's.
advertise?
I think you would advertise exactly what you said, oh, we kidnapped this guy, and then it's like, well, who's his father? Who cares? And then somebody's like, whatever. Dan Stevens figures this out, and he's like, oh shit, and he starts immediately running away. That's your like first half, and then you cut to things like, whatever. Lisa Frankenstein, I forget the actress's name, like just standing stark still across the way,
Oh.
like down in that whatever greenhouse where they have that fight. Do like little vignette moments like that, blood on the walls, and then just Melissa Barrera like covered in blood with a pool cue in her hand, and then the overdub of the little girl saying, "I'm sorry for what's going to happen to you." You get the idea that
Yeah.
maybe it's the little girl attacking, but you don't know that what she is. Like,
yeah. I think it's possible, and I also think if you've seen Ready or Not, I mean, not everybody has, and not everybody's going to connect that movie to this as having the same directors. But if you have seen that, you kind of know what you're getting into. And
Yeah.
also, maybe that's why they wanted to really emphasize the vampire stuff, because without that, it might feel too similar to Ready or Not, because they're stuck in a mansion, run around like people are
That's one of my
exploding.
biggest beefs with this film is
Yeah,
sometimes it feels like a lot of copy and paste from Ready or Not,
I think that's
which
fair.
is 5 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the biggest aspects, which it's honest, the exploding, which is in
Mhm.
a vacuum, just taking this film on its own, I like it, of course. But as soon as I saw it, after running around this kind of big spooky mansion and people get picked off one by one, the exploding thing, I was like, all right, guys, come on. We need like a
really,
little fresh. Yeah. I mean, it feels like they're just recycling ideas. I
dude,
mean,
I don't know.
Kind
okay,
We
so
of.
just
here's my
watched.
perspective. Yeah, they're coming off two remakes essentially of the Scream franchise. One which was kind of a bust. And then you got this movie which just feels like a lot of recycled ideas from Ready or Not. I mean, it just feels kind
Mhm.
of like a weak streak for them.
I don't really agree with that. Bob, you had something to
Okay.
say though. Go ahead.
I mean, yeah, I see that criticism, and mostly agree with it. But I still think that this movie has enough that differentiates it from Ready or Not. It has the
Sure,
benefit,
sure.
the massive benefit of the really fantastic ensemble cast, whereas Ready or Not, you were a little more isolated, following Samara Weaving around as she
It
navigated the
had a pretty
situation.
good, yeah, cast though too. I mean, you had good
Yeah,
interactions with the family. Yeah.
Oh, all the casts have been good. Yeah, I mean, I like their interplay of all of their characters when they have a big, wide
Yeah,
cast
me
like
too.
this.
That is a positive, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of similarities, and I could see someone not digging on that. But the exploding bodies specifically, I'm down for it. The more, the better. So paint the walls red. That's
If
totally
they
fine
had
with me.
if they had another film come out in another 3 years and there was like several scenes with bodies exploding, would it start to feel
Yeah,
tired to you?
probably. Yeah.
Nah,
Okay.
I don't know, man. Like to me, I'm thinking about last week. We reviewed Drag Me to Hell, and damned if Sam Raimi doesn't insert a deadite into just about every fucking movie he directs. I
Yeah.
don't really mind. Like it to me, it's like an exploding death is like first of all very fun to watch. I'm happy with it. They did it. I think this time around, it didn't have the exact same impact because it wasn't right at the end of the movie, but it like I don't know, you're always wondering with a vampire movie how these things are going to affect them. You saw the bullet didn't work, you saw all these things that didn't work, and then all of a sudden this fucking worked, and worked in such a big way that there's no body fucking left. I think that's kind of fun, and I don't mind like a horror director having a calling card like that. To me, like, you
There's
slip that in there as almost like a Cornetto reference, you know,
Yeah.
like
yeah, there's no body fucking left, says Randy.
there's
Put
no
that on my
body
shirt.
fucking left. And then also, like, as
Damn.
far as like their similarities, they does have similarities to Ready or Not because it is a hunt, but it's an all against it's protagonist and team versus a high-powered villain, as opposed to a single
Sure.
person against a horde of family. It's really the setting that is the most similar and like
I would
really ties it
not
closely
agree
together.
with that. You have the
No?
setting, which is very similar. It's old,
What?
spooky, gothic style house. Okay, so hang on. So there's the setting.
Yeah.
As we just said, honestly, it's kind of the same as Ready or Not, what you just described, but a flipped perspective because you have this ensemble who's specifically hunting one thing, and in Ready or Not, to kind of go against what Bob was saying, like we do get a lot of interplay with the family as an ensemble cast in Ready or Not.
Mhm.
Yes, we are following the perspective of the hunted,
Yeah.
so that is the big switch. But you do get enough interactions to know what a wacky group of family they are in Ready or Not. So it's really just a perspective flip, but it's essentially the same premise. A bunch of people
I
are
don't think so.
hunting one thing in a gothic house.
Yeah.
So I would say that's very similar. Several of the kills are very similar. You have the idea of like the pool cues. I think they do that same exact thing in Ready or Not with like the using the pool cues as
I don't
weapons or
remember that.
because they have like a game room or whatever. So you have like that aspect of it. You also kind of have this like big bad head of a family, which in this case is like
Mhm.
a vampire lord, and in the
So
other one it's the devil,
I have
for
some
the
trivia on that
okay.
a little bit. So there's these two movies are potentially so closely um, related in DNA because they exist in the same universe, apparently. So there's a portrait included in this movie in one of the background scenes of Henry Czerny's character from Ready or Not, who is the patriarch of the Le Damas family from that movie. And apparently, it would be like a great 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 grandfather of the Le Damas family. So they're like if Abigail like owns this house, or I don't know if they just turned it. I don't know, but potentially the families are related in some sort of way, and the two movies exist in the same universe. So I don't. Who knows if
I don't
maybe
need
they'll
any
try
of
and
that.
tie them
Yeah.
together. I don't need any of it either, but it
Yeah.
is like maybe it might help explain why the movies are so similar in tone and they
Eh.
This
explode
is the
in bodies
thing.
and
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I want, yeah, that's, I don't really like, that's fine. And if that's the case, I understand the logic of it or whatever. I don't, I just like, I don't see an entire perspective shift as a minimal change. I think that if this was set in a dilapidated warehouse, it would not seem that similar to Ready or Not. Like, I feel like that carries so much of the visual connection that you don't really forget that these are the same people. I think that if you put it in a totally different like visual set aesthetic, that yeah, it's a huge perspective change. This isn't, like I said, I agree that it is sort of a swap, but a swap is not a small change. Like we just watched In a Violent Nature at Overlook Film Festival, which is a point of view swap of a slasher movie with basically like a Jason Voorhees like creature. You're following him, and like that's a significant change to me. Like it's the same story told through a different perspective. That's more similar to a slasher movie like Friday the 13th than this is to Ready or Not, because this is multiple people battling and trying to understand a supernatural creature they've never encountered, didn't believe was true, didn't believe was actual, and you know dealing with that versus one person dealing with a family that may or may not be supernatural, but is trying to kill one person, and it's a what do you call that? Most dangerous game sort of thing. That's a totally different story to me.
No.
I do think something else that separates this movie from Ready or Not, and we should probably just get off the Ready or Not thing, but is
Probably,
this movie has kind of a like heist slash mob kind of
Yeah.
bookend situation happening. The meat of the movie is really not much about that, But yeah, they kidnapped the little girl at the beginning of the movie, which I don't know how much of that's really necessary to show to the main plot of the movie. And then
I
it
liked
turns
it.
out,
I like those sequences.
yeah, and then it turns out her dad is sort of this vampire mafioso type character who like rules the underworld, which sounds interesting and stuff too. But I like that they include that sort of thing. I kind of wish that they would have got maybe a little bit more into it. But I think that's just another thing that like separates this from that. And I do think the ensemble in this movie is way better. Maybe it's just for my personal taste, but Kevin Durant, I fucking love Kevin Durant, and he's for some reason he only seems to do television work. I don't really know if that's choice or if he just can't break into movies or whatever. Did you guys ever watch that movie or that show from like 2012 or something that was produced by Del Toro for FX called The Strain? It's like a vampire
Yeah.
television show.
Yeah.
He
I
was
watched
in
like an
that.
episode. Yeah.
Was it?
He was like a
Um,
main recurring character, and that's the first thing I saw him in. I loved him in that. I was really stoked to see him here. He's probably my favorite character. I thought he was hilarious. Definitely
Wait,
like the comedic relief.
no, that's not the first thing you saw him in. He was in Lost. That's what I always remember him
Was he in
from.
Lost?
He's
I don't remember
Kimi.
that.
Kimi in Lost.
yeah,
Oh
that's who. That's
shit!
right. I was trying to look it up. But
That's
yes,
what
it's Kimi.
I
He
really
was
like
such
him
a piece
too.
of shit in that show.
Yeah.
It was really fun to watch, though.
He plays a good villain-esque
Yeah.
character. Yeah. I always associate him with Kimi because like Kimi didn't like last that long in Lost, if I remember right, but he was always very memorable to me. So anytime I see this actor, it always catches my attention because I do think he's good, and
Yeah.
I think he probably deserves like more roles. I always enjoy him
Yeah.
in whatever he's in.
I think
Me
this is
too.
a good showcase for him because he
Yeah.
gets to like flex some comedic muscle here, and I don't know that he's getting a lot of that or not, but yeah, he's kind of like the standout from the pool of extra characters around Melissa Barrera and Dan Stevens and
Yeah.
Abigail, basically. And
Yeah.
I like he kind of stands out for me like above everybody else for sure. Like I don't know. He's enjoyable
Yeah.
to watch. It's good to see him like show some range because I similarly always think of him as Kimi, which makes me think, okay, if I ever need like a big imposing piece of shit that can totally talk shit to whoever you're trying to intimidate, this is your guy. But he can do a lot of things, you know.
He's very funny in this. I thought he had me laughing.
Yes, yeah.
Another guy. So this actor I was totally unfamiliar with, and before we saw the movie premiere, they sort of dedicated this movie to him. Angus Cloud, who's
Yeah.
the wheelman in this. I guess he sort of broke on Euphoria, which is a Max show I've never seen. But he was, I guess, discovered by some sort of talent agent. He was studying acting, was trying to be an actor, and he was working, waiting in some restaurant or something. And somebody came in and like hired him to work on Euphoria, I guess, and he sort of broke for that. But he passed away before this movie came out, which is sad because he's so young. But I thought he did a great job in this. I really liked his
Me too,
character. I'm sad that
Oh
he's
my God.
no longer.
I had to
with us.
warm up to him a little bit, but yeah, he passed, and like he's so young for that, man. I don't know. It
Yeah.
was
It's
maybe it
holy
added a
shit.
little weight to his performance somehow, but like I don't know, like just like throughout the course of the movie, he goes from this character. I'm like, I don't identify with this character. He's just kind of like seems like a piece of like a lazy piece of shit who talks a big game, might be just tweaked out, whatever. But he slowly like becomes funnier and funnier, and more it becomes, oh, this is an intentional like comedic performance right now. I thought he did pretty great, and
Yeah.
the fact that he passed just kind of like it just sucks, I guess. I don't know how else to put it.
So
Just
I
sucks a
didn't know
lot.
any of that. I didn't know, like, I'd never seen this guy before, I'd never heard of him. But as the movie was playing out, this is so weird. Oh my! So as the movie was playing out, he's the wheelman. His interactions, like what he's doing, he gave me like even his look very similar. He was giving me this Mac Miller vibe. I was like, oh man, this dude's really
damn.
reminding me of Mac Miller. And they both died of a accidental drug overdose around the same age, like very close. This Angus Cloud died at 25, Mac Miller at 26. That's so weird to me.
Yeah.
Because like the whole time I was like, man, this dude's giving me like strong Mac Miller vibes. I was like, I wonder if that's like what he's going for, if that's what just this guy is. But they got the same like shaved kind of head, and like that's weird. That's super weird to me. Oof.
But yeah, I don't know much about Mac
That's a
Miller
bummer,
myself,
yeah.
but it seems like an unfortunately very common story. So rest in
Yeah.
peace, Angus.
Yeah,
Damn.
he did
But
a great
yeah, his
job.
performance was good. Yeah.
I liked him a lot. Also, Dan Stevens, I think, with his Queens accent, I think he dials that in pretty well, especially being like a Brit and plays a piece of shit pretty well in this. I
Yeah.
always like Dan Stevens though, kind of
Me too, man.
whatever he's
I
in.
feel like Dan Stevens, like by all rights, should be like a Marvel celebrity at this point, but he just keeps doing these movies that are
Yeah,
more niche and genre and gives him like weird accents to do, and I respect the fuck out of all of that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cuckoo is coming out soon, and he's in that
He is
with
so
this
good in
crazy
that.
German accent. He's got all these accents dialed in pretty well.
Yeah, he's very talented, man.
Catherine Newton, like you mentioned, Lisa Frankenstein. She's everywhere now. She keeps popping up and stuff. She does a really good job. She's very like magnetic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she does have a
she's
kind of
hard.
magnetic personality. She's got this kind of unhinged under like the skin type of feel. Like she's not
Yeah,
outwardly unhinged, but you feel like she's like a time bomb or something.
hell
I
yeah.
yeah,
Damn,
brother.
I just realized she was in a show that I really liked called Big Little Lies a few years back.
Hell
And
yeah.
trying to place what
but
character
yeah,
she was, but yeah.
Melissa Barrera, I think I don't love her performance in Scream. Maybe she doesn't have enough to do. I don't know. But I thought this was my favorite performance of hers so far. I thought she did pretty
I
well.
agree.
I always
First
feel
of
like
all, she did
she's
great.
pretty like solid medium. You know,
Yeah.
like
Really?
she's never given a bad performance, but I never feel pulled to what she's doing.
I think I felt
Much
more
like
of that this movie than anything else than any other movie I've seen her in, which isn't a whole lot.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
haven't seen her in a ton of things. Certainly not in a leading capacity. Like this is she you know, you get what you get a little bit. But I don't know. I thought she did really like impressively and like as a complete aside, like she's never looked better. Like I was like, holy shit, Melissa's looking great in this movie. So good for her
Randy.
Whoa,
on a number
Randy,
of
keep it
counts.
in your pants, brother.
Hello.
You know, if I wanted it out of my pants, it would be out of my pants. You can trust me on that one.
Randy is not
I
even
would
wearing pants.
I
Oh God,
abstain for
Randy,
no
put it
men.
away. I mean, whoa, behind the
There's nowhere to
scenes,
put it.
YouTube is gonna demonetize us.
Oh shit. Abigail Weir, the girl that plays Abigail, I thought she did a fucking great job.
She really did.
So
She
great.
was very impressive. And to kind of go off some other things, and we're talking about the cast, she did a really good job. But I like the choice, the teeth in this one. I like the teeth, or I like the design, just the overall. It's got like a touch of Nosferatu vampire. It's got that like
Yeah.
kind of fucked up, distorted teeth, but it doesn't look like the Nick Cage. The teeth are too big for my mouth. Like it doesn't have that feel.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
think Dan Stevens' teeth kind of did do that a little bit.
Yeah, that's yes, Dan Stevens.
But Abigail's no, I would say.
Abigail,
I would
no.
agree with you on that. And I think that most of the characters, for some reason, Dan Stevens like just really puffed him up a little bit. Like,
Did you
but
guys just
Go ahead.
before we get off Dan Stevens real quick, whenever he goes full vampire, he's covered in blood, he's got the glasses and the teeth and the jacket. I as soon as I saw that, I was like, are they going for like a Bill Paxton Near Dark
oh, absolutely.
vibe for him? Like that's just what I thought of.
Yeah.
Intentional or not, I definitely felt
Yeah.
that. And I got to think that, you know, these guys know their horror movies. I'm sure that they've seen this movie and are pulling from whatever cool vampires they can find. So yeah, I
Yeah.
got to think that that was an intentional thing to have him, you know, kind of do like this wackadoo like hyper machismo thing. Like I really like that a lot. I was going to bring up though in the interview or in some of the in the Q&A section that we saw, the boys from Radio Silence were asked about the teeth, or somehow the teeth came up, and they were very proud, and I thought it was really cool that they specifically like gave each vampire their own bite. Like they specifically didn't want like just the two fangs. They wanted something more animalistic, they said, which I think plays really well. But also, like, if you look at Abigail's teeth versus like Dan Stevens' teeth are like jagged. Hers are sharp and pointed, but they're like a standard row. It seems like more so, maybe a little bit more. And certainly Dracula's are just like, it's like a cartoon drawing of just like perfectly pointed teeth.
Yeah.
So I just really like that little detail, and and I did notice that before they pointed it out, but hearing them talk about it was like, it was really great. I thought that was a cool thing to do, to give your vampires a little bit of visual differentiation from the pack, basically.
I think Giancarlo seemed to struggle the most with the teeth, or at least that's how I felt when I saw him try to talk.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I forgot about his teeth. Like he just had that one teeth scene where he's
yeah,
like the man behind the man in the
it
chair for the
it
building,
was
and then he's
very
trying to make a deal.
like lips forward
Yeah.
kind of feeling. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I don't know, man. It's tough to do that convincingly. I know,
It
like
is. Yeah.
you can even like, a trained eye or like somebody who's been around like braces at some point in their life can probably usually pick out people who have had braces even if they don't anymore. So it's like there's a weird sort of like almost imperceptible thing that makes it really easy to tell when somebody doesn't have their honest to god teeth in their mouth, or at least in the
Yeah.
right spot. And it plays better for some people than others. I think maybe for Abigail it plays better for that kid because she is a child and kids' teeth are still growing, they're constantly changing.
Well,
So
that's a good point. Yeah.
maybe it just, I don't know, maybe there's some sort
Yeah.
of biological reason we can't identify it in her as easily.
Yeah. The like dancing, the ballet aspect of this movie, like the girl can dance her ass off and it looks really cool and impressive, but like it doesn't factor into like the actual movie really. It just feels kind of an add-on sort of thing. Whereas
Yes and no.
yeah.
So the
Finish
scene
up.
it is so I was gonna point this out. It is a shame about the reveal in the trailer because I felt the scene where they go in and she's dancing with the corpse, and they're
Yeah.
gonna fight her or whatever. That was a good scene. I like that
Yeah.
scene, and that was like definitely a highlight moment for me. And I liked the dance. I kind of wish they do it. They do it. I'm like trying to think about it. The way that she fights with it was
Yeah.
cool to me. I like that. The scenes where she's just like dancing down the hallways felt more like Megan moments. It felt calculated and like we're trying to make this thing. So I would agree there. Like in those moments, it felt like it was just a shtick. And in the other moments, I felt like it felt more natural and vibed more with what was actually happening or tied into the actual character.
Sorry, Bob, were you gonna say something?
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I definitely like, I'm kind of two minds about that, I guess, because like, yeah, it is a little bit gimmicky to have a little girl killer basically movie where the little girl is like dancing around and doing like pirouettes and shit while she kills. That's like style, right? Like that's a style choice, right? And I'm fine with that. I think the same way that I'm fine with Megan doing her thing. But what elevated it to me was her whole character is built around being a dancer, like from top to bottom. Like it's not like they didn't put in the work to justify her behaving this way. And also the fight scene, like you just described, like that validates it like tenfold for me because it's like Suspiria 2018 shit. Like she's
Yeah.
doing her moves and attacking, and the other character that she's controlling is attacking in a similar way. It works really well. It's like a nice visual jump.
Randy, I think you're having mic problems tonight. One, your mic
You
has
okay?
completely cut out, but also two, it's like seems like it's fighting with Zoom where like the Zoom condenser is on and it seems like you're like peaking periodically and now it's like completely cut out, which gives me the hint that maybe you're having some mic connection problems or
I did just
something.
bump it, and sometimes the jack is a little loose.
Okay.
So
Well, just also too tonight,
is
just
this
it
better
seems
at
like
all?
the Zoom compressor is like fighting with your microphone or something because it's like got this like warbly compression sound sometimes. So I was just thinking like, well, maybe the mic's not connected well or something.
Well, I'll double check here. I mean, it's definitely connected and everywhere else,
Okay.
so it's
Okay.
probably here when I bumped it. But what I'll do is I'll leave and then come back just to make sure that it resets everything.
Okay. Okay.
Is that okay with you guys?
Sure.
Sure.
Bob, that's not gonna fuck you up, right? Okay.
No,
Cool.
no, it's fine.
All right, 2 seconds.
Did you notice that, Bob? Did you notice like the weird like kind of mic noises?
I know some like cutting in and out like
Yeah,
a
it's just
couple
like
a
some
couple
like kind of
times.
like warbly sound or something.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Technological advances.
All right, let me get my audio back on here real quick
Give me
before we
in the
continue.
mood.
Quick
Hey
test.
now.
Good.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, but that bump
Oh,
came
the
through,
sound,
right?
the bump came through. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, and my voice is it
I
where it
think
should be?
I think so.
All right,
Yeah.
I'll just be like delicate with it. But
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know where I left off exactly.
We were talking about like the fighting style or something.
Yeah, I kind of stopped mid sentence, and that's the only thing about it. So
Yeah, you were saying the fight scenes, the validated temple that's like Suspiria 2018 type shit. She's dancing when she attacks. The person she controls is dancing when she attacks. And then
I
that's
think I'll just
where
redirect myself, and then you can just splice it in that way. So I was like, I
that's
don't know, I
fine.
just think this, and
Yeah,
that's I normally talk that way anyway. So
you mostly concluded your thought. So yeah, that's fine.
oh, okay. Well, if you think it's good as it is, then that's fine. We can just move on. But
If you have anything to add
no, I was
to
just
that
wrapping it
thought,
up.
that's fine. Or just however you want to go about it, I think will be okay.
I'll just launch us back in by with something real quick, and then we'll be back in the mix. I think.
Okay.
Just Juice took a step away, so we'll wait for him.
He's got to take a shit. He's taking an emergency
a fat,
shit.
sloshy, wet gallon of shit right now.
Okay, well, I'm gonna start recording because that's gold. Juice had to step away and take a giant shit real quick.
Just sloshy, full diaper shit.
Oh yeah.
To the brim.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Like I just think that I just think it was really like a cool thing the way they handled it. I think if Megan didn't come out a year ago, then we wouldn't even be having this conversation, honestly, because that made its way by being somewhat not, I wouldn't even say gimmicky, but just sort of like so much joy came out of just watching this quote unquote little girl robot do this dance while killing people. It obviously had a moment in culture. And so like you could say, yeah, they're trying to recreate that, but I think it justifies itself enough to where I'm not, even if that's true, I'm not bothered.
Yeah, I'm not super bothered by it either. I just kind of I wish it was like more integral to the plot in some way, but they use it. They do use it. I don't know why it would be talented. I don't know either.
Like if she was into painting,
yeah,
I don't know.
Well,
she could just be like a normal.
This might be a good transition into something else that kind of bothered me, even though I'm like, I feel like I'm railing on this because really this movie, the way I perceive this movie is it was like mostly enjoyable. And then as I was like really just enjoying the ride, there were these things that I felt were like weird choices that just started to drop the enjoyment for me. Like, I feel like I start off really high and then like I kept dropping. And then by the end, I was a little kind of disappointed with more of the things as they kind of started piling up. So one thing that was weird to me, this was a weird choice. And maybe it's how I think about like vampires or just this situation. I don't know. It didn't feel necessary to me. So talking about working in the ballet stuff more, you kidnap this little girl and you don't know why. You don't know who she is. You literally are just hired to do this. And then the whole plot comes around of like, you assume, we're capturing this little girl. She's in this mansion. You assume we're ransoming her to her father for money, but they don't know who the father is. Okay. And then they find out he's this mysterious gang lord that nobody knows what he looks like or anything. I was baffled that they actually made that a person, because I thought the whole thing was going to be, well, yeah, this is a vampire that is a little girl, but she is hundreds of years old. She just looks like a little girl. So she has created this character of Lazar to run her system. And of course she's into ballet. She's like hundreds of years old. She's been doing so.
That's a good point.
And so when they were like, oh, it's about, she has an actual father and the whole like driving thing about, oh, so he doesn't really care about you. I was like, this is fucking stupid. Who took this swerve in the film story?
I do agree. Dan Stevens in the movie even says like, no, you dumb shit. She is Lazar.
Yeah.
And then there's a really funny moment after that where, what's his face? Because I thought her name was Abigail or whatever, which is a good joke. But yeah, it would make perfect sense because she is so old. Like she's not actually a little girl. And I think they do that to really drive home the connection between her and like Melissa Barrera's character, who was like
I think so
abandoned
too.
her child.
For
So
sure,
that
but I felt
but Abigail's not
I'm
a
abandoning my
child. She's
child.
hundreds of years old.
Yeah,
And so
and
like
I've
I
it's
was
weird
abandoned my
that
boy.
she would still be trying to please her father at that point because she's ancient and like the connection is like I understand what they're trying to do, but it doesn't quite land.
no. And
Yeah,
why would a vampire have a father? It doesn't.
yeah. Is that like her? It's like the dude
A
that turned
real
her,
father,
or her.
or it's so stupid to me,
It's her.
honestly.
It's her father, but not her daddy, or is it her daddy and not her father? Or
That's
is
a
it
good question.
both?
I never even thought about that
Yeah.
question. But like, yeah, I think that's a good point to bring up. I don't know that it bothers me nearly as much as it does you guys. So like to me, yes, it's done in service of the Melissa Barrera character to give them a connection that justifies her being let go at the end, her like rescuing Abigail. Like Melissa's point of view is as that of a mother in basically in crisis who is doing shit that she knows is fucking up her life to protect her kid's life, at least ostensibly. And so like she's sees this kid who's running things or whatever. I don't know. Like I feel like there is a connection there. I don't think it's as strong as it should be, probably. You're probably right on the money on that point. But I understand wanting to make that connection because like she's your point of view character, not Abigail. As much as Abigail is the front and center focus of this, she's not the protagonist. The protagonist is Melissa Barrera. So like you need to give her some way of either getting out of this fix or like resonating poetically with how this concludes, and that's how you do it. That's one way to do it. I think that you're right. Like if they had just had her be like, oh, there's no father, Lazar is a creation, whatever, then that would be fine because Melissa still has her own story. But I think it helps make sense of why Abigail feels anything at all for Melissa. Like I don't know. Like maybe it doesn't sell quite as well as it should, but I think that makes a kind of narrative sense that without it, I think that if you didn't have that happen, it would be just a little bit shallower, you know?
I
So
don't
I
know.
don't know.
Having Lazar show up at the end and essentially do nothing and have this really, to me, it was terrible moment of, oh, let's just like let her go or like pleading the case. I thought that was dumb as shit.
Yeah,
Honestly, the last 15
Feel
minutes
that.
of this movie, honestly, were like pretty poor to me and really dropped my overall opinion of this movie.
Damn.
it didn't ruin it for me. I
It
don't think
didn't
I
ruin
feel.
it, it just dropped my opinion significantly. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't. I think I would have been more interested if it turned out this little girl was actually this like criminal mastermind and
Yeah.
running the whole thing, and not just apparently trying to like murder
Well, I don't know.
specifically people that double cross or fail her father's empire. I think that would be more interesting, especially because she's not a little girl at all. She's really just kind of like a henchman for her dad now.
But here's the thing, like I don't think that there's a reason to think that somebody being of a certain age makes them immune to daddy issues at all. So like her being 100 years
Oh,
old and
we
still
know
trying to please
that.
her father. Somebody being 100 years old, 200 years old, 1,000 years old, and still trying to please their
Still
deadly
got
ass
daddy
vampire
issues.
if you're still trying to please, like I don't see why somebody wouldn't like why that's unbelievable. Like that somebody would still want to please.
I'm not saying it's
their
totally
dad.
unbelievable, but for like a supernatural being, it's like not super. It doesn't resonate, I guess, in this movie.
She's
Maybe
also
there's a
like
way that
we
it
don't know
could,
the.
but
I don't know. Like I think that it definitely doesn't ruin anything for me. Like because I see that as a concession made to make the lead character resonate, even though it doesn't fully land the way that I think that it maybe should, which is definitely a criticism worth having.
yeah,
I don't think that
like
it feels stupid to me. It feels like a decision made in service to your characters, your lead, your protagonist character. And I think
it's
that's
easy enough
good
to still
writing is to try to do that.
I think it's still easy enough to make the connection without having this character Elzar like show up at the end. You can, I mean, okay, she's a vampire who
Maybe.
looks like a little girl, so she's turned as a child. You can still have this connection of this association with her childhood or being robbed of her childhood because she is a vampire. Like you can make this character as an individual richer and still tie it into the characters, like main I don't know. I just So talking
What
about the
makes a
last
vampire little girl insecure, and
the
how do you make that part of your story?
well, the last
Is the
15
question.
minutes to even it was really dumb to me because you've got this double cross. And this guy comes in and did this not make a lick of sense to anybody? He's their servant, but he has autonomy to double cross them, and he turns Dan Stevens, and Dan Stevens tries to do the exact same thing that he just did to this guy. So this guy turns Dan Stevens thinking that he can control him. Dan Stevens immediately crosses him immediately.
So they,
And then
they do
Dan
make a distinction.
Stevens,
He doesn't. He's not trying to control Dan Stevens, and they do make a distinction. Giancarlo Esposito says like, no, you won't be a
you will
puppet.
have
You'll have
autonomy.
the full blown deal. Yeah.
But he is supposed to be a puppet, which is how Dan Stevens gets the whole even idea that you can make a puppet, is because he's saying, like, for the past 2 years, I've been converted and I've been serving them to do this. I mean, that's how Dan Stevens gets the idea. Is this guy goes into this whole dialogue, then he double crosses him and then immediately tries to do the same thing with this other woman, and of course it doesn't work. I was like, this is the dumbest
I think
fucking
the
thing.
only like vampire puppet we see in the movie is Catherine Newton's character.
Yeah. And
I don't think
know.
Giancarlo is.
Okay,
I
well,
do agree.
Okay, all right.
I do agree. No, I think that's true, and I do agree that like it to your point. I think that it's ill defined, and so like the parameters make it hard to parse. You know what I mean? Like I think that
Yeah.
if we
Yeah.
understood what makes somebody a puppet versus what makes somebody, I think it's like maybe it's like, oh, I think Dan Stevens, if I remember right, because it's been a minute, but does he drink Giancarlo's blood himself
He
to
does.
become?
He
Because he's not
does,
bitten
yeah.
and becomes a puppet. He drinks blood and becomes a autonomous vampire. So maybe that's the rule
Okay.
that we just aren't keying in on.
Yeah.
But like,
Maybe.
I also agree though that like Giancarlo is wasted in this movie. I feel like his
Yeah.
character, like he does a
Kinda.
good job with what he's given, but it's not a lot. His character, like I wish that he tried to play Dan Stevens another way instead of obviously Dan Stevens. Like it's just so telecast that Dan Stevens is going to like attain power, immediately buck, and then try and kill everybody and become top dog. That's clear. That's what's going to happen. Like, and I don't know. It's overly telecast is my main thing about that. And I don't think that they're telecast. That's not even the right word. It's overly the overtures are there, and I just don't see it as being like the best service of his character. I think that him getting a comeuppance in the form of like Dracula or whatever, Lazar coming in and just flicking his wrist and like holding him up against the wall or something, like doing some Magneto shit to him where he can't even move because he's the master vampire, like
Yeah.
that. And then getting comeuppance that way is like, oh, you thought you could usurp this shit. You thought you were that good of a double agent, didn't you?
Yeah.
Well, no, you're a fucking scrub and gets killed. Like, I think that makes sense. But it doesn't quite do that. Instead, he sort of like tries his luck, and Melissa Barrera just, in fairness, like it is very compelling to watch her succeed at killing him. The two of them succeed at killing him without the help of a third party or whatever. But I don't know. I just feel like there might have been a way to give him more of a like, I don't know, more of a send off than he got, because it was just so very obvious that he, like, whatever you think that he's gonna do or whatever power you give him, he's going to abuse it. That is his character, and I think that like by the time we see Giancarlo and him making a deal, that's so fucking obvious that it becomes somewhat boring.
Yeah. I mostly agree with that. I think the only other little thing that I have for this movie is like the meat of it felt like the cat and mouse portion felt a little repetitive because they like continuously like split up and come together and split up and come together and split up and come together. And I know they're stuck in this house and they can't get out, but it also seems like they didn't try super hard to get out. Maybe they could have focused on that a little more too, but
I thought so. The way I see this movie is the first third, I would say, was the strongest for me, because I thought the setting up of this heist aspect and working in a heist into a horror movie, I found that very interesting because they set up all of these characters so well, in my opinion. Each one, we talked about this in several things, Beetlejuice and stuff, but where every character is like so distinctive. They have their own kind of role, even though you're just getting introduced to these characters. I liked it. And what also feel was like underutilized, they set that up so well and it was so intriguing to have it. And then you put them in this setting. And I thought that all of the skill sets that they set these people up to have were kind of wasted because the hacker doesn't really get to hack anything. And obviously, like, it makes sense to kill the driver first. Okay, the driver, you can't drive you can't drive in a car. I mean, a car in a house.
You
So
cannot drive in a car.
you
Tell me what
can't.
I can do.
So,
I'm gonna drive
yeah.
his house.
So kill him first. I also thought so the way that they kill the first guy, and I thought that was great. Off screen, we're still teasing. We don't know it's a vampire. But then you have this other military guy who I think that they killed way too
I'm
quick
just a
in this
Jesus loving ex-marine.
ex-marine. They killed him way too quick, and it was such a bummer to me because they did it in the exact same way.
Yeah.
Flash off
He doesn't
screen.
do anything.
He doesn't
really.
do
Yeah.
anything. Yeah, and
I kind of like that.
I don't. I didn't because I was like,
that's
we
interesting.
literally, this is the second kill. We literally just did this. There's somebody
That I
and
don't
they're
love.
off screen and then they're killed in this mysterious way. And
it would be well served if you didn't know it was a vampire girl already,
Well, it would, but also too, it's just like nobody gets to use their actual skills. So why do we spend so much time establishing that they all have their own set of special skills?
That's a fair point.
I don't.
Like,
I mean,
what
I
the
don't
fuck?
see their exposition as being too much about their skills as much as their sins.
I'm
Like, I
talking
think
about the
that's
whole
what it is.
beginning is about establishing their skills. The whole opening scene is about establishing people.
Yeah, well,
as
their background
skills.
entirely. It is not just their skills, to be fair. It's their
It's like a lot more
personality.
than that.
Yeah.
Like,
It
here's
is.
who
I
you
just-
are.
I
Here's
thought
like
that
that
was,
whole
like,
Melissa Barrera
very-
reading the room situation.
Yeah.
That is not about what their skills are. It's about what they're hiding and what it is that makes them pieces of shit in their own right. Like,
I just thought that
Hell
aspect was
yeah.
very underutilized.
I don't know. I think that, like, I like the scene of the military man who's Rickles, William
Yeah.
Catlett. He
Yeah.
like, I think he does an okay job or whatever, but he's like, I think that having your like most reliable, strongest character that Melissa Barrera might actually be able to, like, your biggest ally, just have him, like, you turn one, like, the way it happens, it's not like just off screen. It's not like he walks in the other room and then somebody finds him in the other room. They turn from each other, if I remember right, and then you hear a sound and she turns around and he's dead. He's fucking standing there dead. And so, like, there goes your last great hope of survival, basically, of trusting anybody. I think that's good. I do think that if they had reversed the kill order and had him die first, then that it hits even harder, and then that gives a little bit more of Angus Cloud's like dipshittery to
Maybe we
hang
get more
some
comedy
fun
from
on.
him. Yeah,
Right, and then
maybe.
he eventually makes a boneheaded decision and dies, and he can die in a million different ways. It doesn't matter at that point. He can, but like, I
Just
think that
felt
that
like-
in an isolation is still a great scene. That's all I'm saying.
Even like just having like this hacker and like she doesn't get to do anything.
She
I
tries
just-
to find some sort of
some
like
switch.
thing to reset.
But to
you know,
your
but,
point,
yeah.
Bob, yeah, the whole idea too, it's like that Scooby Doo aspect, like let's split up. It's like, why? What are you
They
talking
just keep
about?
doing it,
Why
yeah.
are you no?
Yeah. I don't know. I think we
Keep
kind of touched.
suggesting that.
We kind of touched. I think Dan Stevens did. But I think we touched on most
That
things. Any other major points you want to hit before we rate this?
Major, no, but
Okay.
No.
I could quibble on this
no.
all day long. I think.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go. Let's go ahead and land this plane, gentlemen. Out of 5, Juice, kick us off. How do you feel about Abigail?
All right, I'm gonna quickly go down the positives because I was like nitpicking. There's like the problem is like there is a lot of nitpickiness going on here, or like a lot of things to nitpick. I think, but where I like my journey through this movie is the first third. I was really impressed and intrigued, and it did a perfect job of pulling me in. I really like the heist aspect. I thought they did a great job with not a lot of screen time to establish these characters. I knew exactly kind of who they were and what they were about from the start, was like invested or intrigued by each one of them, honestly. And each one of them could have gone on to lead in some kind of like little journey or something, and I would have been following along, interested what was going to happen. So I thought that they established that really well. The setting, badass. I really love the fucking setting, and I love that we get to explore different aspects of this, falling into the pool, going into these kind of like basement little corridors and stuff like that. All of it, and even just like the nice rooms where she's dancing, and I just thought that they utilized the setting really well, and I loved the setting. So then the second third, I would say, is solid. It's more popcorny. I feel like there's not as much meat there, but there is more entertainment. So we have some fight scenes. I did like the scene where they're like getting their ass whooped, and she stabs that dude a million times with a tiny little cross, and she smells the garlic. And we're still establishing this kind of lore, because like we already established the characters. Now we're diving more into Abigail herself and like what makes her who she is. And so there wasn't as much like impressive there, but I was still in it, and it was more just kind of like popcorny stuff. The last half dropped off so bad for me. A lot of it felt very cheesy and just half baked. I think it starts where she's in the cage. So her whole info dump of like, you double cross me and and piecing those things together, I was not really about that. Gus in the basement being underutilized and double cross and then double cross again. Dan Stevens' teeth definitely looked the worst. The whole aspect that she actually has a father, and then he shows up at the end just to not do anything, just to have these kind of like couple lines of basic, oh, I wish my father appreciated me kind of lines just to end the movie. I thought the last third dropped off so much for me. It was ridiculous. I was so disappointed in what I thought they established as like really good characters and really good lore, just to kind of piss it away on some really like fucking basic lines, I thought.
This is the positives.
Well, no, I'm kind of going through my journey. So I did start with the positives of the settings and everything, but so yeah, I don't know. It's still overall, I think, is positive, and it was fun, but I was so disappointed with the ending. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to give it a 3.25. It's on the positive side. If they had stuck more of the landings, if they had just like really closed out stronger, even just like kind of medium, I feel like it would have easily been a 3.5 to a 4. And it just like, there was just this huge drop off for me. And it was kind of a bummer. Left a sour note for me for sure. But yeah, 3.25. Bob, out of 5, are you going to rate Abigail?
Oh,
Bobbo.
Hello. I like that. Can that be my signature bump now? Is that doable?
Not now that you've said that.
Fuck, I hate that bump. I don't ever.
I don't give people what they want. That's
again.
That's my.
That's
Randy.
my
Randy
loves to withhold.
I love it when you withhold.
Bish.
It just makes me want it even more.
Are you waiting to receive my limp penis?
Play into those daddy issues, Randy.
I think this movie, first and foremost, like succeeds based on this amazing ensemble cast they have. All these characters are like really, really turning in solid performances, and they've got this interesting like back and forth, even in like really little tiny moments, like when they're in the van. That brief moment between Kevin Durant and Catherine Newton when they're like playing quarters and drinking is like funny. I don't know. There's like little moments that I think come together really well. Angus Cloud was great. Dan Stevens with his crazy accent. All that is just so fun. The like sitting around like the billiard table and like shooting the shit. I really love that scene. The movie could have started there, probably. I like the idea of the heist though, like actually seeing them break in and steal this little girl, and then you get some sort of like the mobster aspect coming in towards the end of the movie. The more you find out, I like all that stuff too. The exploding bodies, they really don't skimp on the gore here. I'm definitely a fan of that. Painting the walls red, and there's definitely stuff that you can pick apart and pull at that really aren't fully formed or don't totally serve the movie in the best way that they could have. But I think generally speaking, this was trying to be a fun like popcorn movie, and I think it does succeed in that way. I definitely had a good time watching it, even if the ending isn't like totally satisfactory. Like, why is this little girl who's not really a little girl like identifying with this human who like abandoned her kid? And I don't know, it feels a little, maybe a touch unbelievable. Um, yeah, the ending is a little flat, I guess, but generally speaking, I think it's a fun ride, and I love seeing Kevin Durant in a movie. We need more of it. So yeah, I think a little warmer on this than you, Juice, but I think after our conversation, I'm gonna come down a touch from where I was and just call it a 3.75 out of 5.
Even me out, Bob.
Even him out, Bob.
With pleasure. Randy, how do you feel?
Yeah. So, man, I really did enjoy myself watching this movie. I think that maybe some of what Justin you're talking about is actually can be traced back to the fact that you had no idea what this movie was about at all. Because like the fact that you were so invested in the heist or whatever, and so invested in like what are these skills going to be employed to use to do later in the movie, I wasn't so concerned with that because I kind of knew where this was going to be. It was going to be like some of these people are not going to make it out alive. Most of them probably aren't going to make it out alive. Maybe none of them. So I don't really like their skills, like and how they interplay. Like I think that having them show off their skills, show off why they're there, and give little indications of what their personality are. Oh, like whatever. Lisa Frankenstein, she's kind of aloof. The wheelman, he's kind of an idiot. Dan Stevens is a complete piece of shit and like aggressively so. And Kevin Durant is kind of a dummy, but he's doing his job. He's a soldier. You know, like you get like ideas of that through the process of them kidnapping Abigail. So I think that, and then you get the billiard room scene to solidify not just who they are, but why they are, what their sins are, what makes them need money, what makes them want to be there. Fucking Lisa Frankenstein doesn't need to be there at all. She's there for the kicks. And I think like that's as much as we get out of that character, unfortunately, in terms of like pathos. But I think that a lot of the characters, like you set all that up so that then you can get into the action and you know your characters as they go into the big action of the movie. So I'm okay with all that, and I think that that's like because I knew kind of what was coming. So in fairness, I think that's where I'm coming from. That said, like I don't know, I feel like the way that this movie progresses makes sense. The first third I think is fine. The second third I think is fucking fabulous. It's my favorite part of the movie with all the fight scenes and all the like silliness and like ridiculous fucking heads falling off and shit. Like it's just goofy fun, and that like throughout the movie I'm pretty clear on what I'm expecting. Like this is not a serious fare. This is an action horror comedy. Like this is not something that's going to keep me up at night. This is something that I'm going to laugh out with my buddies. So when it gets to the end and there's Dracula or whatever, I think that like adding the pathos in or whatever, I don't think that Giancarlo Esposito and that whole thing with Dan Stevens worked out really well, but it was a means to an end to get him to a place to be the basically mini boss before Lazar showed up, and then turns out that like the connection between Melissa and Abigail is what saves her. Not being the as much of a piece of shit as Dan Stevens is what saves her. Having some sort of like sense of, I don't know, decency towards this kid, even as she's killing people. And like I again with the kid and her issues with Dracula, I don't know if he's her real dad or what. Like that is in question. But like the idea of like pleasing your parental figure, especially a father figure, being a load you care, like an uncaring father figure, being a load you carry throughout your lifetime is absolutely true to life. I don't see any flaw in that logic. I think maybe it could have been played better. And I don't think that it was as exciting when I thought that, like, I didn't realize that the Dan Stevens fight was going to be the last fight, period. The minute Dracula showed up, I was like, okay, this is about to go into a second climax. And it doesn't do that. So it does leave me a little deflated in that way. So I kind of had similar emotions at times as you guys, but I think they were for different reasons. And I think that generally overall, I felt really like I understood what this movie was, I think, and what it is just like something for like a means to an end to get all of these like cool set pieces happening or whatever, and you hang it all on enough pathos to make it work. And I think they come pretty close to doing that perfectly. Not well, perfectly is not a bad word. They come pretty close to doing that in a way that's like that services the movie really, really well. They don't quite service it perfectly, though, I guess is what I would say. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm going to fall right between you guys. Like, this is not as good to me as Ready or Not, so I'm using that as a bit of a barometer, and I'm going to put this at a 3.5 because of that. I connect with Melissa Barrera's character a little bit, but I connected with the lead character of Ready or Not way more, and you spend more time with her, and you understand where she's coming from a lot easier. So, like, just the barrier for entry for this action comedy horror was a little bit lower, and I think that helped me enjoy it more all the way through, whereas this had a little bit higher hurdles to jump. So for that reason, it's a 3.5 for me.
Oh, Randy, how's it feel to be the meat in our sandwich?
It feels warm.
I bet it does.
Toast.
Yeah,
Extra mayo.
Mhm.
Our aggregate is going to be a 3.5. Let's go ahead and jump into Randy's Rotten Mater segment and see what the critics and users think about Abigail.
Oh, welcome to Randy's Rotten Maters.
Hell yeah, my brother.
Bob, your personality more and more is matching that beard.
Randy's Rotten Fried Green Maters. Can't get
Hell
enough.
yeah.
So plump, so right.
All right. So this is a segment in which I'm going to get these gentlemen to guess within the best of their abilities what the aggregate of positive reviews are on RottenTomatoes.com for Abigail. We're going to start with the critics and then move on to the users. So with those critics, there are 177 reviews to count here. So, a little under 200. I'm going to start with Bob tonight. Bob, out of those 177 critic reviews, what do you think the aggregate of positive reviews is going to be? What percentage?
I think it'll be pretty positive, not crazy high. Pretty good. I'll do give me the boys 86, project.
Oh my god, the necktie remedy. There it is. All right. Soju, you got yourself the boys on your hands here. Where do you think, are you going to go over, under? What percentage is going to be the aggregate positive for you?
I think that's a pretty good guess. I think generally this is going to be positive. I think the critics will be mostly like pleasantly surprised. I think Radio Silence has a kind of generally like good reputation amongst critics. But I can't really take it much higher. So I'll just play it safe and take the under. I'll say 80.
80. All right. So we got 80 and we got 86. Wow. Has this ever happened? The correct answer is dead center of both of you at 83%.
Whoa, tie. It has happened.
Has it? Okay. I couldn't remember if it
it's
had
happened at least twice, I think, actually.
Jesus. Well, congrats to both of you guys. Hell's yeet.
We're just making sandwiches all day.
Hell skeet, hell yeet, Bob.
The old skeet and yeet.
Oh my. You guys are just on fire. Game on, gamer.
The old
all right.
classic skeet and yeet.
My dad taught me that one.
I believe that.
Randy, you're not connected. You lost your microphone again. Hands off, brother.
We're robbed of a
testing.
Yeah, there you go. You're back. You're back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that joke wasn't good enough for repeating. So let's go ahead.
It was too blue for even our show.
I would be dead in the gutter if I said that joke out loud. Let's go with Juice. Let's go with Juice for our audience review. Now, there are over 500 of those, Juice. What percentage of those 500 plus verified user ratings would you wager are positive?
I think it's going to be similar, honestly. I think everybody's going to be kind of on the same page here. I think I'll just double down on the 80.
80. All right. Bob, you? What are you feeling?
Yeah, it's probably going to be about the same. I don't see it going. It could be below 80, but I don't think it's going to be. I'll double down again too, man. Just give me the 86.
Dude, let's get a double tie.
86. Oh man.
That would be insane.
Unfortunately, that is not going to happen.
Damn.
But what is
No.
going to happen is an unprecedented ringy dingy on the perfect answer at 86%. Bob's gonna take this
The
one.
boys never let you down, Bob.
The boys coming in clutch. Oh.
Well done, Bob. Congratulations on your big ol' win.
All skeet, no yeet, brother.
Well, some ye.
There's a little yeet in there.
There was, some, I guess, a little, a
50%.
There's
dash,
a marginal amount of yeet. Yeah,
a dash of
yeet.
yeet.
Man, nothing we say makes sense. All right, let's move on to our.
rotten maters.
Let's move on as we always do. We're gonna read a couple of the negative. Oh wait, is there a critics consensus? There isn't. No, there is a critics consensus. I'm sorry. All right, there's a critics consensus for this film, and it reads as follows: carrying off well-worn vampire tropes with a balletic flourish.
Balaic.
I don't know how you pronounce that exactly.
Dancing
Balletic
with
makes the most
some
sense.
dancing.
Abigail dances around the familiarity of its premise with a game cast and slick style. It's premise with a game cast and slick. What does game cast mean? I don't fucking know what that is.
Game?
Game cast? Is it the saying
Game-
that feels like a video game where you pick like each character is like a character in a video
Like
game?
they feel very
I
game.
guess maybe
Like they're
Like you got the
down.
muscle,
like
you
they're
got
Mortal
the-
Kombat characters.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah. Or well, even just
Oh,
like,
Sunny in Philadelphia characters.
do you pick the big slow muscle, or do you pick the medium? You know,
Yeah,
I think they're
maybe.
going for their down. Like they're very game for this premise. They're very
Oh.
down for this premise.
That makes a lot more sense to
that
me.
does
Okay.
make a lot more sense.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah, they're not talking. I don't think they're talking video games.
Flawless victory
That
for
Gen
Bob.
X lingo.
Yeah. All right,
What
let's
are
read
they
the audience
saying?
consensus.
I don't know.
Let's
What
read the
does
audience
it
consensus. That is
mean?
not a that is not a generational divide. We just did not read that
Those
correctly.
Gen Xers just keep saying game, and it means anything.
It means everything. Audience
Oh.
consensus read as follows. Abigail is a little silly, a little scary, and a lot of fun. Just be prepared for a story that takes its time getting going and might go on a little too long. I don't know if I agree with that. Like, it's pretty tight, I thought, for what it is. Maybe a little bit too much back and forth with the cat and mouse. but-
Yeah. You could trim a little bit, but yeah, not too much.
Hour
That-
49, maybe
That's
low.
not what.
maybe
Yeah,
low.
that's not what
You
bothered
could
me
maybe
about
go to
it.
an hour 45, an hour 40.
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
make
it's
it
not-
fine.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
fuck the
Yeah.
audience consensus.
Fuck outta
That's what
here.
we all say.
Jerk offs.
Well, I mean,
We used to be men of the people. Now we tell the people to fuck themselves. That's just the natural
now we're
progression
men
of
of the
things.
Uh,
critics.
Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest.
All
Looking
right,
down
let's
on
read
the
some negative.
peasants.
All right, let's move on. Some negative reviews. Let's find some funny ones, hopefully at random. Here we go. The film's setup and the screenplay by Stephen Shields and Guy Busick are really intriguing, but the execution, pun intended, is where it lets itself down.
Thanks, guy. Hey! You guys get that? You get that pun up
Abigail
there?
is twirling into theaters.
Yep. Abigail is balleting her sweet toot ass into theaters today. Yeah, no, that's
Let's
fine.
not talk about
I guess.
children's asses.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
she might be like hundreds
yeah,
of
that's
years
fair.
old in the movie, but not in real
That-
life.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking of it in terms of physical asses, but that's fair.
Metaphorical ass.
Yeah, it's
Got
one
it.
of those metaphorical asses. Although vampirism is important, in the end, what is said about it is pure rehash, and that's translated from Spanish, so we have an excuse for why that's a little weird.
Randy, that doesn't excuse you reading English.
It's not the Spanish is not there. It says full review in Spanish.
I want
That's
you to
how I
read
know.
it in Spanish.
How about this? No,
Oh, Randy.
I'm speaking Spanish, buddy.
Sounds good to
Um,
me.
That's it for Rotten Tomatoes. Let's move on before my drunken ass, metaphorical ass, gets any worse.
Drunken metaphors. All right. Yeah, there's a little bit of trivia left. Let's get into it.
All right.
It's totally time for trivia.
Boys, this apparently started off as being a loose remake of Dracula's Daughter from 1936, but then it went into
Really?
crazy different directions, and clearly is not that anymore. But they did keep that on as the working title when they were filming, apparently.
Okay.
I watched that movie in a class in college.
Hmm.
That I was the last class of my day. It was at like fucking 9 p.m. or some crazy shit. I very much could not keep my eyes open. So I don't remember much, but I don't think it was anything even resembling this in the slightest bit outside of the title.
Yeah, that's not surprising to hear. I've never seen it though, so I don't know. Can't really speak
I'm
on
pretty
it.
sure that one
never
was
seen it either.
associated with lesbianism in some way.
Whoa.
I might be speaking out
Wouldn't
of
be
turn.
surprising,
All
but
right.
Yeah. So I don't know.
some of those Hammer horror movies, and I'm assuming it's Hammer. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah,
I don't think
a lot of them.
1936. I don't think so.
When did Hammer start? Maybe it was later in the 40s. I could be wrong. Probably
I
am.
don't know.
So
We
I
don't know
fucking
anything.
We don't know. Let's stop talking about it. We don't know about it.
Yeah.
Abigail dancing was largely driven by Alicia Weir's natural abilities. Co-director Matt Bettinelli Open explained, I mean, not for nothing, but we went into production, and as we were meeting Alicia, this is going to be hard to believe if you've seen the trailer. The dancing was not actually a big part of it. It was a very tiny little flavor. And then because she was very good at dancing, they wanted to do more of it. So they
Okay.
did.
I think they built that in nicely, personally. Like,
Yeah. I'm glad it's there.
I wouldn't have
Like,
guessed that.
It looks cool, you know.
It definitely gives it a distinct flavor.
Yeah, that Megan flavor, a dash of the Megan.
Nah, it's better than Megan. That's for sure.
That's giving Megan too much credit.
It's
would
way
agree with
Dancing
that.
is give it
I
that
agree.
Suspiria 2018.
As much as I
Whatever.
criticize this movie, it's significantly better than Megan.
Yeah, I agree for sure. Dan Stevens apparently took inspiration from "I Think You Should Leave" for his character in this movie, specifically the look of his slicked back hair. Slicked back
Okay.
hair, well, I guess came from that show. I have seen that, but I can't remember that the character.
Oh, maybe he's is that the sloppy steaks look? Maybe it is. Do you guys know what? Am I speaking gibberish to you right now?
I've seen it, but I just don't remember that.
I think like there's a whole long bit that was very popular about Tim Robinson being at a party and a baby crying at his face like, no, I used to be a piece of shit. He probably sees that I used to be a piece of shit. And then he starts talking about how he used to slick back his hair and then go to restaurants and eat sloppy steaks, which is steaks with water dumped all over it for no good reason. It's very fucking weird. It's describing it as doing it no justice. It is very funny. But maybe that's what it comes from, because I can't think of any other slick back hair characters from that show, and like off the top of my head.
Shit. I'll take a T-bone sloppy, please.
Extra sloppy, please.
I know how you
Make that
kids
extra
like them.
sloppy.
I used to be a
sloppy.
real piece of shit.
We've all been
It's a great
there,
show.
hey, boys.
We
I'm
have
just a
all
little
been
fucked up.
there.
Just a couple more quick points here. The music in this trailer is the main theme from Tchaikovsky's ballet Swan Lake, which apparently was also used in the opening titles of Dracula from 1931.
Okay. Cool, that's cool.
Last bit here, the filmmakers revealed they filmed two versions of Abigail. One was more focused on horror, one was more focused on the comedic elements, and the final result was a blended version of the two.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, probably a
Oh,
decent way to go about it.
I honestly don't have a problem with the way the character or like just the general tone of the movie. I think it was a good blend of horror, thriller, comedy, and action. Honestly, I thought it was one of the best parts.
I wonder if they shot it in both ways, like they did with American Psycho, where they had Willem Dafoe as the police inspector play it in three different ways and then intersplice them together. I wonder if it was that sort of thing, or if it was like a decision beforehand. Because it really doesn't read like it's incongruous with either of those positions to me.
No,
it seems very blended.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, whatever they did, I think that worked out. The balance totally, I think
Definitely.
it's
Yeah.
totally fun. Yeah.
Me too, which honestly really goes back to like Ready or Not. Ready or Not had that same
Yeah.
kind of feel.
Yeah.
You had some really
They just
solid
haven't-
comedic beats, some really great action beats, some really great gory horror beats. Yeah.
And not to be like beating the dead horse for this, but like Sam Raimi toes the same line a lot of the time when he's in horror realm. Like he goes a lot more comedic than they
Yeah.
do. And I would characterize some of those movies definitely more as comedies than as horrors, but they are
Yeah.
clearly horror inspired. And I think this movie does maybe even a more balanced job at juggling those two things. And I
Maybe,
think that
yeah.
Ready or Not does too. So maybe this is just like a particular cadence that they excel at, and I'm ready to see more of it personally.
Ready or Not, here it comes.
I would
Here it
definitely rather
comes.
see more of this than some
Scream bullshit. Me too, brother.
I don't think that they
We're on
excel with.
too.
I asked
7.
them. That was one of the questions I asked them on that red carpet at Overlook. Was, hey, what do you think is the bigger challenge?
Hey,
Is it
fucker, what do you
Hey.
think?
Hey,
is
fucker! I didn't quite open that one.
Brady straight
But-
chilling? Look here, fuck.
Look here, you motherfucker!
My name's
Yeah,
Bob.
We're
from
the
Straight Chill.
Bob was taking a leak while this was happening, and that is not a joke.
That's
But
true.
yeah, no, I asked them.
Sure.
I was like, "What's the more like challenging thing for you? Is it more challenging to work with an existing franchise, or more challenging for you to come up with something like valuable that
question.
you can make into a thing?" And they said, absolutely, the latter is easier. It's much harder to satisfy the requirements of an existing franchise.
Mhm.
And I think that shows in how they approach, or how the results of their work. I am definitely more drawn to their original stuff than I am to their franchise stuff. I think that they show a lot of fucking great promise with that stuff. But the
Did you just
opportunities are where they
respond-
are.
Did you just respond with like, yeah, we can fucking tell, bro. You fuck. And then walk
No,
away.
I responded with, Rob wanted me to tell you that your movies suck. He thinks you suck ass and he wants you to go to hell. So I just want you to know that.
Bob said, which is me.
Thank you.
Me, Bob.
Me.
From Straight
Me.
Chillin'.
Remember this face. This is Bob's face. You
Oh,
fuck.
remember this name. Mostly this name.
This
Bob.
name. but
I'm
forget the
Bobo
face.
Babo. And
Bobo.
Forget the
I'm
face.
here to
Remember
say-
the name.
No. I genuinely think these guys are great filmmakers. If they're like left to their own devices, they clearly excel at a certain cadence of horror, and they could go further with that. But like the franchise brings with it so much dross, it makes perfect sense that that's harder to accomplish if you've got other great ideas milling around in your head that you want to eke into the fucking film, and you can't quite make it work because you have so
Just-
many other bingo cards to hit. Bingo
Yeah,
chicken
Look at our
cards to
boy
hit.
David Gordon Green.
Exactly. Yeah,
He
should be
nailed
making
it.
his own fucking movies.
Do what
He
he
make
did.
new movies, man.
Just look at our boy Rob Zombie. I mean, same.
Just nailing it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just make your own. Everybody,
If he just
everybody,
made
make
more
your own movies.
31s, he would accept.
I want to see 32. That's what I want.
I want to see 69.
Mm.
I know you do, buddy. I know you do.
69, dudes!
The old
Hey, I've been
Skeety.
drinking. What's all of your excuses?
Damn.
It's
I'm
early
supposed to
for
be
me.
wasted
That's
on
my
this
excuse
episode.
every week. I'm just deliriously sleepy.
Randy
I
beat me to
roll
it.
out of bed.
Juice, since your tired ass is up next, let's talk about Cooter of the Week.
Oh, let's do that.
Straight chillin'. Gooder of the week.
Juice, what is a Cooter and why do we hunt them?
Oh, Cooter's a character type and a straight chillin' exclusive. Cooter must hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a Cooter. We want the Cooter with the most points. The 5 points of Cooterdom are sexual deviance, manipulation, smug arrogance, overall looking attire, and overall patheticness. Boys, I think we probably have a couple Cooters this week, or potential.
Might be a whole.
Cooters. Yeah.
Might be a
whole
whole house
gaggle.
full of cooters.
Gaggle of Coots.
Gaggle of Coots. Let's see. Let's start with Dan Stevens' character, maybe. I feel like he might have the best.
I think
he's the most
he stands out.
developed. Yeah.
Smug.
Well, he's the
smug as
villain.
fuck.
Smug
Oh,
arrogance. Yes.
Manipulation as fuck.
Manipulation. Check. I don't think there was any
Mm.
sexual deviance on his part that I remember.
Not
Was there
really in
any
this whole
sexual deviance at
movie.
all in this film? I don't
Yeah.
think so. I think that we can just
Yeah, I
write that
don't
one
think. I
off
mean
for
that
this
that
movie.
one dude just like kind of hits on the hacker a lot, but other
Yeah,
than that, there's
Cloud.
not.
Yeah, but
Not
the
really.
wheelman does, but he's like rejected in a humorous fashion, and
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
really
Yeah.
kind of the end of it.
it leaves it there. Yeah. So no, I
Yeah.
don't think so.
He's not pathetic.
Not pathetic,
No,
except that his whole
attire. Did
like
we say
plan
attire?
like
Oh,
doesn't
sorry.
work out. He just like
Yeah.
immediately fails.
He doesn't strike me as pathetic.
Yeah.
I don't think
and-
so. I think he's
and
the
the
most
tire's
smooth
fine.
operator there.
He looks all
I
right
think
with
he's the
those
most smooth
Dahmers. He's
out of the
rocking
batch
Dahmers.
with the. Sorry.
Randy.
The
I
Dahmers?
thought your mic broke
I
again.
thought your mic was
No.
going again too.
Yeah, the glasses. He's rocking the
Oh.
Dahmers.
Yeah. Yeah, his attire's
Oh, the
fine.
Dahmer glasses. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is
No,
he?
his looking attire. Well, I would say the
he's
teeth.
not rocking the Dahmer glasses.
Yes,
is
he absolutely is. Yeah.
I thought they were rimmed.
Yeah, I was really
Might be.
thin. Really thin. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
assume they were thicker black rimmed glasses.
No,
Okay.
no.
All right.
No,
Bad.
they are kind of thicker actually, but they are that shape. They are the
Okay.
shape.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
Old
he's
Dahmer.
kind of halfway.
Two,
Kind of halfway between Weezer and Dahmer.
So, yeah,
two of
so-
5, I think. Really.
All right. Well, who else then? can we get?
Abigail. Maybe.
Manipulation. She sets the whole thing up. Smug, arrogant. She plays with
Mm.
her food. She's gonna hit the
States-
same, I think.
Yeah. Look at
Look
tires.
at Tire's
looks-
badass.
Look at Tire's
Uh,
fine.
For a hate
She's
kid
not
vampire.
pathetic. She's like in control all the time.
She's
Yeah,
like-
most of the time.
It seems like her whole thing is to like try and get her father's approval for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a little.
I would say that's
pathetic.
It's a little pathetic. I think that's a good like I was gonna say like that as a pathos for a character is pretty understandable no matter what their age is or whatever. Like you don't trying to please a father figure is that is unreceptive to you is something that affects people their whole lives. And
Yeah.
we don't know how a whole
Yeah.
life looks after 200 years or 300 years. But we can assume we would assume that it would be similar to somebody who's in their 80s still wondering why their dad didn't love them. You know what I mean? So I think that that's understandable is all I'm saying.
Yeah, that would be the 3. If she had 3, that would be the 3rd. So
Yeah.
I don't know. She doesn't feel like a cooter,
Not
Well,
really.
No.
but
How about Giancarlo?
Who's that?
Yeah.
Giancarlo Esposito, the
the control
the
room
middle
guy.
man.
Oh yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Manipulation,
So-
check.
manipulation.
Manipulation. I would say he's more pathetic.
I'd say he's more pathetic.
More
too,
pathetic because he believes the most obvious, unbelievable person
Yeah.
with his plan, who
Smug.
immediately turns on him.
Smug arrogance is there, I think.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That-
maybe he's the
those
he's
are your
probably the
3.
biggest like feeling cooter.
Yeah,
I
he's just
will
kind of like a little sniveling guy.
Yeah,
you
who
know?
immediately gets taken out and whose
Yeah.
plan is really fucking stupid. And yeah.
I do want to point out that both Dan Stevens and him, their teeth situation might be a little bit of an entire
look at entire.
infraction.
That might be fair.
Giancarlo, I think, when he's like going to bite
His
Dan
is probably
Stevens,
worse.
and he's like a lips. He leads with his lips with it, like a quivering.
Because the
it's a
double
weird-
illness.
It's a weird moment, but yeah, some people might be into it. You know,
Well,
I'm into it.
some people named Bob. I mean,
I don't know who
Some
they are.
people
but
might have a
some
sock with his
people-
name on it.
remember this name, forget the face.
Giancarlo Esposito. That's gotta be a tube sock, baby. All the knee
Oh,
high.
shit.
Giancarlo Esposito.
That's a humble brag.
Give me the
Okay.
biggest sock you got.
I got some jerking to do, motherfucker.
Jeez, this took a turn.
All right.
The old
Yeah, it
ski
always
knee.
does. The old ski.
So yeah, this sounds like
Let's
he'd be
move
the
on.
one.
Yeah,
If we want
okay.
to,
If
if we want
anybody
to go
hits
there.
3, it's going to be him.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
do
I
think
that's
that-
fair.
But I
Yeah,
also think
yeah.
that like this movie positions, there's no like foil to cooter behavior in this, and I kind of feel like that's
Well,
like
okay,
there's no like straight up normal person for you to be a barometer for how fucked up these people are, and I think that these people are positioned generally to be they would be cooters in any other movie, is I guess what I'm getting at.
Well, I think the cooter of so of the squad, I think the driver is supposed to be the most in the cruder realm.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Because he does his whole thing where he's wrong about, like, he's very smug arrogant about being able to read people, and then he's just 100% wrong. So you could say smug arrogance and patheticness. He's constantly hitting on this one girl and like getting rejected, so that's like also kind of pathetic.
He
Looking
draws
at,
a dick on
yeah,
Kevin's face, which
sexual
is
deviance,
kind of
maybe
funny.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I guess that's sexual deviance. I think we all have something to worry about if that's sexual deviance.
Oh boy.
Smug arrogance, not necessarily.
Yeah, I think Giancarlo is gonna hit because his whole character is just getting played by everybody around him.
Yeah, that's true.
Really.
Like he starts playing people at the beginning, and then when he's reintroduced, it's immediately to be just a means to an end for Dan Stevens to become a powerful piece of shit.
Yeah.
He's just a stepping stone for the real villain.
Let's take him. We got
Pretty
him.
pathetic.
Okay.
Put him in the cell.
We got our Cooter of the Week, Giancarlo.
Fucking idiot.
Sorry about your luck, bro. So let's talk about what we've been watching this week.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
Randeezy, what you been watching?
Yeah, I've watched a few things this week. I did finish up the show Ripley, which I mentioned the last episode or two, and I enjoyed it. I did not know until afterwards that it is an adaptation of the book The Talented Mr. Ripley, and I've not seen that film, so I didn't like have any frame of reference for that. I didn't know that. But I really liked the series overall. I didn't care for the ending. I feel like some of the characters kind of got the shaft, like narratively speaking. It didn't. I don't know. I don't want to go too deep into it because if you watch it, it's worth watching, and the mystery and intrigue carries you through. But I don't love how it ended. I also didn't love the Block Island sound, which I posted about on the Slack. I finally watched that. It's a 2020 film by Kevin McManus, and I don't know, that one, like, it just wasn't what I expected it to be, and it turned into like the most painfully obvious version of itself, and it kind of took the wind out of my sails for the concept. The concept itself, I thought it was going to be something like relating to like the Havana syndrome or some shit like that, like a newer conspiracy that you could like make a horror movie around and maybe do something cool with, but they kind of relied on older tropes than that by the end of things, and they didn't particularly handle them that well, in my opinion. I also watched a double feature with Beck where we picked a theme, and that theme was cult movies, like movies that involve cults, not movies that are cult classics. And we watched two movies. We watched Faults, the 2015 film by Riley Stearns, and The Sound of My Voice, the 2011 film by Zal Batmanglij, which literally involves the name. You can't spell it without spelling Batmang. So I think that should give him an edge.
Hell
in everything
yeah.
that we have to say about Alice. But yeah, so watching those Faults was what is her name? Mary Elizabeth Winstead is big in that, as well as one of the character actors. What is his name? The lead actor is a character that we've seen in like Seven. He was the guy that was the sin of lust, if you remember that little debacle. He was the guy they found at that location. He's also in The Bone Collector and a lot of other things. So he has a particular style. He's a character actor, but he plays Leland Orser is his name, and he does a fucking fabulous job leading this movie. His acting is like great. Apparently, he modeled a lot of his character's quirks after William H. Macy in Fargo, is what I gather.
Okay.
Although
He's
it's
also
not
the dad
like,
in The Guest.
yes, he's in The Guest as
Yeah.
well with Dan Stevens.
Well, I
And
think we
I
praised
don't know, like,
him a lot when we talked about.
we loved him in that,
Seven.
and I'm
Yeah.
like so psyched to see this movie where he leads, and not only is a leading role, but it's like a good one. I think like it's not the
Good.
best movie of all
Lance
time, but it's
Reddick?
enjoyable.
Lance Reddick is in this, and The Guest as well.
Wow.
Yeah, that's true. Lance Reddick has a pretty small role, but it's fine. Like he does a Lance Reddick thing where he's an intimidating, scary guy, and he does it well, as he always did. Rest in peace, Lance. And then The Sound of My Voice on the other end of the spectrum, I did not particularly care for this movie. I didn't recognize too many of the actors or whatever, and that's fine. But like, it the story was like, it was kind of in the end ambiguous when it probably shouldn't have been, and like there's so much exposition in place of showing that was happening, and I don't know. I feel like the acting wasn't quite up to snuff overall from a lot of those characters. It was a downturn after watching Faults, in my opinion. So fine, but not great. And then last but not least, I want to mention Baby Reindeer, which I shotgunned faster than I've binged any show in a long time. Even Ripley, which I watched pretty quickly. And like that show took some turns I had no idea were coming. I had no fucking idea were coming, and really hit hard. And it turned from like sort of this quirky, almost like black comedy into just like a very emotionally resonant thing that is very confessional and like very honestly like very brave of this guy to both write in and star in a story of his own life, thinly veiled, that is this it doesn't pull any punches away from himself or anything else. I think he's like extremely thoughtful with how he portrays it, and he makes all of these things that this his lead character. This is Richard Gadd, by the way, the lead in this, like the lead in this, and the person who this actually happened to. It was, I don't know. I'm very impressed. I'm just very impressed. Is the short version. And for those who don't know, this is basically the short log line is that it's a film about a struggling stand-up comedian who starts getting stalked by a patron to a bar that he moonlights at, or that his main money comes from, and it goes into some directions from there. I think by episode 4 is when things turn hard. Bob, I think you watch this as well. Or am I describing this right on your end?
Yeah, I agree. I finished that up this week as well, and it starts off as like this very quirky, goofy, weird stalker thing, then takes a really hard turn into like fucked up, sad, twisted town, and is not what I thought I was signing up for. So like, I guess be prepared for that if you haven't seen it yet. It's good, but it's like a huge bummer, man.
Yeah.
Damn.
Ends on a hopeful note, I will say.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah.
Ish.
Tread lightly.
That's it for me. Yeah.
Anything? Okay, cool.
No,
Juice,
that's it. Sorry.
Juice, what you been watching?
I fell back into another busy schedule this week, so I have not been watching much, but I have been watching. So there's this Japanese animated show that started in 96 that I've been watching. They're just like really short episodes. They're like it's like a kid show, but it's called Case Closed, or Detective Conan, I think is like how there was something about translating it to English or whatever, but so it started in 1996, and so I've just been going through season 1 so far, and they're really short. I mean, like total they're like 23 minutes, but then you have like an opening song, which I always skip, that's like 2 minutes, and like closing credits and shit. So really it's like 19 minutes of content. And it's really interesting because it's this kind of blend of it's definitely inspired by like Sherlock Holmes, but it's got a little bit of like James Bond there, but also has these elements of like Scooby-Doo, because it's about this guy who solves these mysteries, but he gets like poisoned and becomes like, he looks like a kid, but he's actually like 18 years old, but he looks like an elementary school student. So it's like really cutesy and definitely geared towards kids. He gets some crazy gadgets sometimes and stuff like that, but it's like Scooby-Doo sometimes, but with a lot of gore. They decapitate people. I was watching one last night where this
man.
bride
Hot topic dream.
This bride gets
Anime that's
poisoned.
Scooby-Doo and gory.
Yeah, this bride gets poisoned at her wedding. She's wearing a wedding dress, and they like burst into the room, and she's passed out on the floor, and there's like blood coming out of her mouth and shit. Like, it's pretty like they have some. And there's another one that actually has to be inspired by Scooby-Doo, because it was at like an art museum, and there's this It felt there's this suit of armor and stuff like that, but that one's got a lot of gore in it too. People are murdered, people commit suicide and stuff like, but there's always some death or somebody missing or something, and he's always like solving the crime each time or whatever. So
Suicide is badass.
it's very interesting to see the kind of differences between this kind of like Japanese kid show 96 and because it's also played very cutesy. There's also moments too, we've talked about this a little bit before with other Japanese properties, where there's a lot of teenage girl underwear, like girls get their skirts blown up or like they're on some roller coaster ride or something. I'm just like, Japan's just got a just different vibe, man.
That's terrible. That's terrible. Where can I watch this show so that I can protest it?
Where's that link so I can avoid it? No,
wow.
It's just but overall though, it's actually pretty funny, and I've been enjoying just going through it. There's like, it's another one of those shows that's got like 25 seasons, so I definitely can't watch all of it, but I'll see how far I go with it.
Christ.
But yeah, that's all I've been watching, honestly. Case closed. Bob, what you been watching?
Just a few things. After we recorded last week, we were talking about Whip It, that movie with Elliot Page. And so I threw that on, watched that again, and it holds up. It's just a good fucking movie. It's got good vibes. It's sort of like wholesome. It's funny. It's got some drama. It's just worth watching. It's great. It's check it out if you haven't. I think you'll have a good time with it. I also watched on my Marvel journey Spider-Man Homecoming.
Oh yeah,
and that's pretty good. Mostly enjoyable. Yeah. It was okay.
Really? Okay.
All I have
I like
to say
Michael
about
Keaton in that one. Yeah.
I totally like, to be honest with you, I forgot he was in it at all.
I always get them confused. I thought you were talking about the one with Mysterio in it, which
no.
I agree with. It's kind of mid. I kind of like Homecoming.
I like Homecoming.
Pretty good though.
It was good. Yeah, it was good.
It's got
I love it, but
old Gambino in it too.
Yeah, I forgot he was in it. It's got Hannibal Buress in it. He plays like the gym teacher.
Yeah. And Martin Starr.
Man, Martin Starr is also like the principal, or I don't know, something like that.
He's like the debate club teacher. I don't know, something like that.
Oh, it's also got that kid Tom something in it. Yeah, he does a pretty good job.
Yeah, there's some like little cameos that are pretty funny. I don't know.
Something. I don't know. He plays kind of.
We all know what you're talking about.
Tom Green.
Yeah.
Tom Green.
Yeah, that's the kid I'm talking about.
Proud.
Tom Green, the child.
Talking about
make your daddy proud.
The young man, Tom Green. Yeah,
he's the sausage song guy in the movie.
I believe he walks backwards, if I'm not mistaken.
He is the backwards man. He's the villain.
Your age is showing, Bob.
The backwards man.
Just Bob.
Yeah. So yeah, still going down the Marvel journey there. Baby Reindeer, we already touched on that. And lastly, Disturbia. We threw on
fucking Shia
LaBeouf.
Rear Window, but for millennials.
Yes, precisely. And
I haven't seen that in a while.
I like it.
You guys love that.
I like that movie.
And I liked it fine, but I gotta watch it again to know if it holds up. You think it holds up? I
want to revisit it now.
The neighbor that does like very questionable things.
Yeah.
That if you haven't seen Disturbia, Shia LaBeouf is under house arrest for the summer for assaulting his teacher, and he sees his new neighbor do some weird shit. The new neighbor that does weird shit though is the officer. I'm blanking on his name now, but he plays a police officer in Treme, and I'd forgotten that
David
was the
Morse.
Same actor.
David Morse is the actor. Job. He's in a lot of shit. He's in The Green Mile. That's what I know him best from.
Oh, okay, nice. He does a great job. That movie's just like it's got really like, I mean, just summer vibes. I mean, it like takes place during the summer or whatever, but it was just kind of a nice. It feels like a good like thunderstorm like evening time watch. I don't know. I like it. It holds up pretty well. Check it out. And yeah, that's pretty much all I've been watching though.
All right,
Um,
Justin, you got a new summer watch on your hands here.
Yeah, Bob.
Yes, this
So
is
okay,
Disturbia.
so when's the best time to watch that? You think? Like, what? Put me in a month to week range here.
I'm gonna say July 12th to
Okay.
13th.
Right
max.
to start off spooky season.
Well,
you
that's
say?
it. That's spooky season. Yeah, I would say the first.
Every day kicks off spooky season. If
I
you
would
think
say
about it.
between June 1st to
Okay.
July 2nd.
Okay, so before
Okay,
spooky
all right.
season, then.
Before, yeah, because July 3rd is Return of the Living Dead. July 4th is Jaws, so you can't do it
Sure,
those days.
no, you can't do it those
Yeah.
days.
So
Yeah,
somewhere in
yeah,
there would
yeah.
be
All
fun.
right, gotcha. Thanks.
So,
That's our
you're-
new calendar segment.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
We do have one voicemail, so let's go ahead and get into our hotline screens.
Hotline screen.
If you are listening and would like to call and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. We got one voicemail. We're hearing from Sean this week. Let's hear what he's got to say.
Hey guys, this is Sean in North Carolina calling in from your Queer Chillin' contingent. It's great hearing you guys here and on other podcasts. I really appreciate your reviews and your insights. I'm super happy you did the autopsy of Jane Doe. I've been a fan of Overdoll for a while, though Troll Hunter and Autopsy are probably his only two really successful films. Demeter and Series Stories were both just kind of okay. My one big complaint with the Autopsy of Jane Doe was that song that kept repeating just because it seems so cheesy. Anyway, regarding Beltane, the one Beltane celebration I attended was in the evening, and it did have multiple bonfires as well as a smaller fire that people would jump over either individually or as couples. There were a lot of flower and vine costumes and decorations. There was plenty of drinking, but fire and personal safety were also definite priorities, so there was a group of sober folks around who made sure that nothing bad happened to anyone. A lot of people there, I'm sure, celebrated from a sincere place of faith, but I can definitely confirm for Justin that a lot of people used it as a pretext just to hook up and have full-on orgies. Regarding the Green Man, I don't remember how much this came up in your review of the movie Men, but he's a symbol of rebirth, as we literally saw at the very end of that film. I really like Alex Garland, but that movie felt like it had two main elements, like commentary on toxic masculinity and the folklore aspects, and they didn't quite come together in a satisfying way. I'm hesitant to see Civil War. We'll see how that goes. Last note, about a year ago, Randy made a joke about the comic strip Kathy, based on the ack, ack, ack sound, probably from Mars Attacks. I found that hilarious, Randy. Great job. I didn't think anyone remembered that comic strip. Thank you all for the stuff that you do. Please keep it up, and I hope you guys have a great May Day. Take care.
See, I go for the 1% of people that will understand what the fuck I'm saying at any given time. Those are the people I serve.
Thanks, Sean. That was a great call. Very informative.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
And super complimentary, which is always well received.
No, that was cool to hear. I had this image. I kind of started, if you see the behind the scenes, I kind of just started laughing halfway through because the way he was talking about people drinking, this image popped in my head of somebody wearing like this Vine costume and being like stupidly drunk and trying to jump over the fire and like stumbly like collapsing into the fire, and they're wearing a Vine costume and they're catching on fire. I was just like,
oh my God,
that could easily turn into the biggest shit show.
I so badly want there to be a horror movie around this exact premise. Oh my God.
But it sounded like really cool.
Thanks. I want to go to one of these parties really badly, not to hook up and also not to worship, but
for the orgies. I'm here for the orgy, says Randy.
Guys,
I'm here for the gangbang.
I'm just here for the orgies. Also, I got my May bush done, so
my May bush.
Flowers
got some flowers in my pubis.
It smells great.
Oh my
Put
God.
your
So
face in here.
floral.
Just check it out. Just
Come on,
Just
give it a sniff.
Tell me you don't
Get
get
away
some
from this.
lavender, some
I paid some big bucks for this thing. Come on, gotta get some use out of it.
you got the old green dong paint for the vinage, you know.
I got to.
green dong paint.
Paint.
I'm the,
They're
I'm the
specifically
greenling.
paint for your dong.
Look,
It's got a
you
flavor.
can't just put any paint on your dong.
It's green apple.
It's a sensitive area. You put temper paint on there, you're just gonna burn it right up.
You think Amazon sells dong paint?
I hope so.
I don't know, man. We gotta
If
think
not,
so.
we
Gotta
got to
get
corner
that
the market. Straight
Green
shillings dong
green
paint.
apple dong paint.
Patented dong paint.
For my
Soft for
mo-
this
for your Beltane
dong.
party.
I need the extra large tube for my extra large dong. Call me
Magnum
Tobias.
dong.
Mantis tobacco.
I need the magnum size tube of dong paint.
All this regular size is too small.
I'd have to buy 6 or 7 tubes, and that just won't do it.
I really want to go to one of these fucking parties. Like
We
it sounds
know,
like a
for
blast.
the orgy.
Yes, mostly.
My boy Orgy Randy. We know.
That's what we call it.
Add it to the list. Whatever you say.
Thanks for calling, Sean. Yeah, it was great voicemail. Thanks. Thanks.
Yeah.
I love hearing from folks that we never heard from before. It's
Also,
always nice.
Don't give up on Garland. Civil War, worth a watch.
Yeah, it comes back.
Don't
Comes
give
back.
up. Yeah.
Don't give up. If you are
I think the
listening,
people
call-
turned on him so hard. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's just how it goes, man. Call in at 904-638-3231 if you want to be featured on next week's show. Gentlemen, you got any prompts you want to throw out for next week?
The stunned silence says it all. We've never been asked this before. What is this? I believe our next episode will be something involving the elderly.
It's true. So next week we're talking about another Patreon pick. This is technically Heidelberg's pick, and he wanted to gift it to a listener of the show who calls in somewhat regularly and has become kind of a listener favorite. Hugh, shouts outs to your boy Hugh Janus. Is going to be picking next week's flick. The movie is Old People from 2022, and that is currently on Netflix, so it's pretty easy to come by. Check that out.
Call in. You got to call in and give your review.
Yeah, or send an email, but we would love for you to call in.
We would love for you to just call in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No
so I don't
pressure.
know. Like,
No pressure.
I don't know anything about the movie Old People.
I don't either.
Dodging the trailer as well.
too,
I've not even seen Old, which I constantly confuse this movie
Glad we're
with.
not
So,
covering old.
yeah,
Again.
I know you.
Well, we did a mini cast. Yeah. Oh my lord.
Oh, was
I
it a
did
mini
not.
cast?
It was me and you, Bob. Yeah, we went to go see the
Ah.
Sunray. Oh,
I've not
that-
seen that either, but I know you
Good.
know it from you guys teletalking shit about it. So anyway, I don't know. Like, what's your favorite movie featuring scary old people? Because The Visit comes to mind for me. I enjoyed that quite a bit.
I
Rosemary's
immediately
Baby
thought
has some
of
spooky
Lake
old
Placid.
people. Hereditary. Lake Placid.
Oh,
Betty White is
yeah.
terrifying in that movie.
I'm kind of.
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's got to be a few out there besides the
Texas
ones we just
Chainsaw
went.
Massacre, the
Ooh.
grandpa dude.
Isn't-
Ugh.
Isn't
Or the
there like
remake
a,
where
yeah,
it's a little
the
lady with a
grandpa's
Confederate
good.
flag.
Isn't there a spooky scene from one of the It movies where he's like a naked old lady strolling around
Yeah.
or something? That was a fucked up scene for the time.
Yeah, there's a couple,
Mhm.
and then there's of course The Shining. There's Room
Yeah,
237.
dude.
Ghosts.
one. Yeah.
That
Oh,
is
that's
a
a
good
good.
one.
There's some good ones out
switcheroo.
there.
Yeah. What's the scariest old person in a horror movie? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'd
Hmm.
love to know.
Good call, Randy.
Yeah. Elderly
Thank
horde.
you.
Call in 904-638-3231. Check out Old People from 2022 on Netflix. Get ready for next week's show. Until then, you can find us on all the social medias. Just search Straight Chilling Podcast and you will find us. If you want to join in our daily Slack channel conversations, hit us up on one of those social media outlets and say you'd like the link. I'll send it over so you can join. And that's going to do it for us. Until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
Who honors the pinky swear of a degenerate?